YouTube fan, what's going on, man? Y'all know what time it is. It's going down. Double tap that screen when y'all get into the live, man. Smash that like button. I need your likes. We're building a brand new channel right here, man. We on a mission to 10,000. As y'all can see, we just getting started. So with that being said, man, I need y'all to hit that like button. Now let's get down to it.
93% of people who use this app definitely recommend it to their friends.
Map Explorer detects all speed checkpoints and...
Stay on this video and you hear how it's over and done for Trump. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you about 3 things and then I'm going to start dropping some bombshells and you can understand the bigger picture. Remember, this is about context on this channel, what it means. It's not about the news. It's about what it means. And here's the biggest thing. Back in November, I said he dug his own grave. It's over for him. It's done. And some people said, well, what do you mean? I said, it's a slow process. And he's done. He's done in office. He's done with the Republican Party. And he's done with life. And at this moment, what's happening is he's not only having a health decline, but a political decline within his administration and the GOP, which I'm sure we definitely celebrate that. But I want you to understand the road that brought us here, the road we're on, and where we're going to, because that's what this channel's about. The context, what it means to us as liberals, and where we're going. Now, where we've been, but what it means to us going forward, okay? So let's go. Ever since this man got into office, he's torn everything up, but I'm not surprised. I was ready to move to another country. And then all of a sudden, I discovered, wait a minute, for the last 50 years, this guy has fucked everything up. And I mean everything. He's fucked up his father's business. He fucked up his own business. He fucked up his relationships with his wife, his girlfriends, his kids, and any other business relationships out there. Hell, even Epstein wanted to get him. You know, it's that type of thing he's been through. And when I discovered that, I said, we're going to have a place where we need to fight back. And there have been people fighting back. There have been the governors, attorney generals, because people always ask me, why didn't anybody do anything? They are. The governors and attorney generals have sued and won by 80%. You got the nonprofits winning as much as 95% in courts, in the lower courts, appeal courts, and some of these Supreme Courts. And then you have the judges themselves in the lower courts, which handle 99% of the cases, straight up cutting things off. Then you have another situation where there are pro bono lawyers who are coming out fighting because they got attacked by Trump last year over their government contracts and helping people on the Democratic side. For the first time ever, they attacked the law. He attacked the law industry. And then you finally got, as long as we show up to November, the Congress showing up, a majority Democratic Congress in the legislature, particularly in the House and in the Senate, will allow us to get rid of and gut this big, beautiful bullshit bill that is hurting us and is about to destroy America. It'll also save Medicaid, Medicare. It'll save the Affordable Care Act, because right now 4 million Americans don't have health care. They estimate 50,000 this year will die without it, okay, because they don't have it. And then there's the veterans benefits and Social Security, right? This is what the judges and the lawyers and the governor, attorney generals and the nonprofits have been doing. But the Congress is so important to have a majority Congress because they can legislate around a bunch of shit. They can even get Voters' Rights Act to work for black people having votes in the House, having our votes, despite the Supreme Court cutting out our vote. So they're so powerful. And the 6th group I always talk about is the Intelligence Committee that's providing information to the subcommittees of the Democrats who are going to come out fighting in January, as long as we got a majority. So those are the people fighting. I want you to understand the setup of this. Just follow me. So understand the setup of this, okay? And understand what has happened over the last year. We have been whipping his ass in courts in the lower and the appeals court. We have been whipping some major decisions like birthright citizenship and not getting rid of mail-in ballots. We've been winning that. We've been winning stuff. But understand this. In his political nature, he is destructive and he's destroying himself. And this is how he's digging his grave. Let me walk you through it. First of all, he has health decline. Speaking as somebody who had a small stroke in April, I'm doing well. I'm recovering. I'm a stroke survivor. I can tell you about MRIs. In the last how many months has it been? 2 months, 3 months now. I've had 2 types of MRIs. I'm gonna tell you right now, this guy has had 5 MRIs at 80, and they're claiming that it's not MRIs, it's CAT scans. Every time he says MRIs. You know how he is. He hears something, he had to talk about it. He is telling on himself. So the point is that he has had 5 MRIs because this guy is holding off. There are doctors all across social media, actual doctors, who are saying he has dementia, he has major cognitive decline, he has kidney failure, he has this, he has that. They are laying shit out left and right of everything going wrong with Donald Trump. You hear me? They are laying his ass out. You dig? I want you to dig that. I want you to understand what is happening. Now, the reason I tell you this, and it's important, the reason I tell you this is that I have said that inside of 20-something days, he could be dead by August. I hope he doesn't die. No, I really don't want him to die. I certainly don't want him to get assassinated and make a martyr out the guy, but I don't want him to die. Why? Because I want him to bleed out. The more he bleeds out, he calls out minorities like Puerto Ricans being dirty poor people, or saying Obama is the monkeys, and doing all this clown shit, which makes us more mad and makes the blue wave even bigger. Where he's digging his grave right now is when he went to NATO in Turkey. He doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on. He basically called Zelensky Putin. He called Japan the Islamic State of Japan. He doesn't realize what the fuck is going on. And the more we get there, the more it looks bad, and the more we go run into those poles, baby. Bleed out. Put that in the comments. Bleed out. This motherfucker is going down. But it gets better, because I'm going to take you down a pathway. That's where we've been. This is where we are. And I've broken it down very carefully to help you understand that where we are right now is in a place where we are poised to have the largest midterm in Democratic history. As long as we all showed up. Do not assume the election. Have your plan ready, because he's trying to block everything and everybody. Even the Supreme Court's like, you can't block that election. You can't do that. You can't come in and do that. Where he's digging his grave is not only with his health, not only with his political rantings, but he's digging his grave with his fucking with shit that judges say don't fuck with.
Let me introduce you to the second-hand shopping app that has been my absolute go-to. OfferUp. I found my first dining room table on OfferUp when I moved into my first place. And not to be dramatic, but it changed everything. I mean, suddenly I could actually host people instead of sitting on the floor. Then all my friends started getting married. And I swear I needed a new jacket every other weekend, and I was not gonna spend a fortune on a one-time outfit. So I just started using OfferUp. I kept this one because I love it. And the others, hey, I resold for basically what I paid for, so no guilt. This TV, my most recent OfferUp upgrade. You know, no matter what I have needed, OfferUp just keeps working for me. And that's why it's still my go-to. OfferUp.
He basically had a ruling against him on his ability to fire employees. And this is going to lead to his end. He's fucking with the Federal Reserve. The Supreme Court said you can fire any independent agency, FDA, anybody, Food Administration, whoever. Just do not fuck with the Federal Reserve, because that's the money. Don't fuck with it. Leave Lisa Cook alone. She has a job. You can't fire her. Leave the motherfuckers alone. And he's still trying to scheme to fuck with them, because he's in his head that he always has to have his way. That's why he tried to take E. Jean Carroll case to the Supreme Court. And now he has to give that $5 million up But he's like, no, it ain't so. That's why he goes to New York courts and say, you got to drop that conviction against me. That's why he went to the Supreme Court and said, the Supreme Court has got to end birthright citizenship, despite them saying, we're not going to end birthright citizenship. That's why he says, we got to get rid of mail-in voting, despite the Supreme Court said, no, we're not. Fuck you. The Supreme Court said this, okay? Supreme Court ain't totally on his side. Don't believe that. Some people lie and tell you, or out of ignorance, they say, he owns all three branches of government. That tells me you don't know what the fuck you talking about. You tell those people who tell you that, say, if he owns all three branches, why did they lose? Why did they lose in the judicial branch, the Supreme Court? Why did they lose birthright citizenship? Why did he lose tariffs? You're not supposed to lose tariffs. Why did he lose mail-in voting? Where they said, no, you cannot do an executive order and get rid of that. The problem is he lies, he manipulates, he wants you looking over here instead of looking at Epstein. So he talks about alligator Alcatraz or anything else he can. He wants you to look over at airplanes, you know, $400 million plane versus here. He wants you to look at FIFA over here instead of over at Epstein. And then the third thing he does is project authority he doesn't have. So since he does not have that authority to do that, listen to me now. He does not have that authority to do that. What he's going to try to do every step of the way is get any way he can to get you to believe he can. He wants you believing that. The truth is, it's not true. So he's digging his grave coming up to this Federal Reserve thing. The Supreme Court said, don't do that. We don't give a fuck what you say. And he wants the Federal Reserve so he can manipulate the stock market and the government and the money so he can get paid and his partners can get paid, just like they were doing with tariffs. That's why the Supreme Court was like, you ain't doing this with relationship to the Fed Reserve neither. You ain't doing it. It ain't happening. That's what's taking place. Now, if he does that, does he get in trouble and go to jail, get kicked out? He could get kicked out, but really his people under him are going to go down. Anybody who's behind that, like Bessett, his treasurer, they can get in trouble fucking around with these people. See, the Federal Reserve was smart. In December, low key, they re-voted themselves in. Normally, they do it around this year, I believe. But here's the thing: they low key voted for themselves early because they knew this fool was gonna come in. And Jerome Powell was telling them, "Let's do it quick because we got problems with Trump." He's trying to game the system again. No surprise there. But he's fucking with the wrong one. It's going to come back and clap back on him. And he's trying to do it and get his bag before 2027 comes in. Because if the midterms come out the way we want it to, it's going to be a brand new day for Trump in 2027, January 3rd. They're going to swear in the 120th Congress, and they ready. They are ready like a motherfuckers. After 2 years of this bullshit, they're ready to run all over this motherfucker. They're ready to get him, and he knows it. He said it. I'm going to get impeached. I'm going to get attacked. They're going to investigate my family. Well, if your family wasn't doing anything wrong, why the fuck you worried? Letitia James and Comey wasn't afraid when they got investigated. They were like, for what? CIA, the former CIA directors are laughing at them. Everybody laughing like, investigated for what? There's nothing to find. I ain't did anything.
Total Battle. Play now for free.
However, Trump has fucked around. Trump had fucked up big time. He's bleeding out. This is his end game. That's why I don't want him to die. Even though I think he might in 20 days or so. If I'm wrong, I'll do a video on it. But I said he may be gone by August 1st, but I hope not. I hope not. I'm not wishing death on anybody in general. But if he stays around, this makes it even worse for him. Even better,
Double tap that screen, y'all. Smash that like button, man. This is the Open Eyes Media channel, and I need your likes. Let's run them likes up tonight, folks. Let's run them likes up.
What I've seen happen with Trump is that every time someone else like Obama had Juneteenth, he showed his ass all during the week before that and the weekend and the week after that. Everything he could. It was a center of attention. All the presidents there, except for him. It was a capital event here in Chicago. Loved it. But what Trump doesn't want is attention with other people. And the way they did it, the Obamas did it brilliantly. They talked about his ass without ever mentioning his ass. But we all knew what they meant.
Smash that like button, y'all. Smash that like button.
It was wonderful. The worst thing Trump hates is when he's not mentioned, but we all know who we're talking about. Just like when I tell you here in YouTube who paid $25 million to Trump to capitulate, and I say things like, you know they stole the you-know-what. I say the you-know-what because you get limited or get in trouble if you actually say it, at least on my channel. There's certain things you can't say, but you knew what the you-know-what was. In 2024, they stole the you-know-what. Understand this, and I worked on Kamala's campaign, so I'm telling you, here's the thing, understand this. We're in a very rare time right now. We are watching history and display. He has literally tried to shake our foundation. And remember this, those paying people say, he owns 3 branches of government. They don't. The senators are fighting back over the SAVE Act. If he owns 3 branches of government, as much as he done screamed at the senators, why haven't they passed it? Because they know that won't save their act. Too much IDs is going to kill them in the blue wave. Fuck Trump. They saving themselves. Rats deserting the ship. It's out for themselves. The other thing is to understand that, again, the lower courts, not just the Supreme Court with the tariffs and with the birthright citizenship and the mail-in voting ruling against him, but also in this part in the lower courts, 99% of the courts are handled there, and they're losing by 80%. He doesn't control it. Our foundation is strong. Know the history, operation, laws, and economic civil government. Know that he's trying to LMP. Put that in the comments. Lie, manipulate, and project authority he doesn't have. And what we're looking at is the more he tries the LMP, we remember the ESGN, Epstein subsidies, gerrymandering kings. And what more he comes in and tries the LMP, the more we realize what's going on. It's an act of desperation, and it drags everything down. He keeps digging his own grave with this. But the bombshell of this is that let me start off with Barron Trump is going to jail. Eric Trump is going to jail. Don Jr. is going to jail. I absolutely believe it. They are tied in with international corruption, running around making partnerships, selling off American services and policies across nations. Every time
And somebody has got to go down for all that shit. Trust and believe me.
takes a trip overseas, do you know they travel around too? Not with him, but with other nations to shop international corporations as well as countries. You pay X, Y, and Z, you partner X, Y, and Z. Plus, they got government contracts. The White House pressured the DOD to give a $650 million contract to an associate tied in with Don Jr. Shit, Hunter Biden what? Get the fuck out of here. As much as they ragged on him, shit. I'm telling you right now, just hear me out, that the biggest thing that's happening right now is that his sons are in trouble. His sons are in trouble. And on top of that, the people, I believe 70% of his cabinet could be going to jail for corruption of all kinds. And he get away with it? No. He's getting a wait for it. As in wait for the Congress to come in. And then 2 years from now, we're going to have a Democratic president. And if that Democratic president is anywhere near who I think it's going to be, Kamala Harris, there's going to be hell raining down on all these motherfuckers. For real. She's the most qualified. She's had 70 million people vote for her. She should have won. He didn't win. He's not winning now. He's on the list. The list is coming out. And if he lives so long, he's going to jail and he's going to have company. Vow my words. Understand that what he's doing right now is digging the grave. So,
which you have zero time for. Fortunately, DoorDash knows all your neighborhood hotspots. Shake up your dinner routine.
it's over. He's dug the grave, stepped in this shit. He cannot get out or wipe off his boots. I'm trying to tell you, one of the biggest things that we're going to discover here is the exchange of our foundational law that has not been rocked. We are still standing. We're still kicking ass, and we still matter. Hang in there, America. Understand, we're not losing. We're winning. It doesn't feel like a win, but we're winning. But there are people, like I said earlier, 6 groups that are fighting for us. The governor's attorney generals, the nonprofits, the judges themselves in lower courts and appeals courts, the pro bono legal corporate America, the 120th Congress is fighting for us, and we have individuals in Congress fighting for us, but the leadership sucks. Schumer and Jeffrey sucks ass. And then the 6th group is very silent. The intelligence community that's either retired, active, or in the private sector, providing information to the press, providing information to the subcommittees of Congress. Hang tight. Watch. Have I earned your subscription? Watch what happens. Watch. Just tune in to me. And then right now, what I need you to do is just go over and watch the last 5, 7, 10 videos I have. Go over to my homepage. Watch the last 5, 7, 10 videos, because ain't nobody else talking about this. Seriously. You know, ain't nobody standing up to us like this. It took 250 years to build the nation that we have. And ain't no clown simpleton with a bunch of clown simpleton lackeys about to come in and fuck us up. He's digging his own grave. Stay on this video. I explained how Donald Trump could be going to jail over the Federal Reserve. And I hope he wants that smoke. So listen completely. You will smile, knowing that this should not be stressing you out. This is good news. So, what happened with the Supreme Court ruling? Well, the Supreme Court said Donald Trump can fire people in the FDA, people in the EPA, any independent agency except the Federal Reserve. They said leave Lisa Cook, the board governor, alone, that black woman, leave her alone. Leave the Fed Reserve alone. Do not touch it. So you know, Trump, don't do something. Oh no, I have to go and do it because I'm Donald Trump. So this dummity Kens decided to go in and start working with his financial staff, the financial part of his cabinet and staff, to figure out ways to deboard the Board of Governors. But there's one major problem. There's a beautiful problem. And that is that
save big when you shop red at Giant. Discover thousands of sizzling deals down every aisle with bonus buy and deal lock. And you'll get the same great prices in store and online at giantfood.com.
the Federal Reserve saw this coming, okay? Seriously, the board chair and the board. So back in December, they did something real smooth under Donald Trump and the administration's nose, because the Trump administration is really smart, right? Not. What they did is they decided, instead of, which they usually do in the middle of the year, instead of nominating themselves, they saw the writing on the wall.
Listen, y'all, we got a survey up. I got a survey up. It's a poll. Will Donald Trump lose the midterms? It's up right now. I need your vote. I need your vote. Hit that like button and subscribe. Let's go.
They said, you know what? We are going to, we're going to we're going to renominate ourselves again and vote for ourselves in office right now because Jerome Powell may not be here. Psst, saw that on the wall. And we may be, ass out. So we need to step out this motherfucker and make sure that we renominate ourselves. So just in case Donald Trump tries to do something, we're already there. It's already in the law. It's already in solid stone. One thing for sure, Jerome Powell and the rest of the board have tremendous respect from the Supreme Court, the lower courts. They have tremendous respect across the nation and the world in the financial community. Everybody's saying, do not fuck with these guys. We don't want to mess with the numbers. They're straight up. Plus, Supreme Court knows Trump scams. What's he going to do? He's going to try to pimp the Federal Reserve to move the markets up and down so he can get paid and people can pay him to be part of his network to tell when the market's going to go up and down. Just like tariffs. And what did the Supreme Court say to that? You can't do tariffs, Trump. Fuck you. You can't do this across-the-board tariff shit. Because the way the game works is he fucks up the tariffs, let's say, in India. And, of course, the Indian trade groups, companies, China has done it, Japan has done it. Everybody, give this man some money. They put money in his meme coin crypto, which he loans against and gets money from. And the point is, between crypto, cash, and wire transfers, this motherfucker is scheming off the board, off the record. And the Supreme Court knows it. But if he goes after the Federal Reserve, that could be the end of our economy, man. It could be a big challenge. I don't say things that drastically unless it's true. When the Supreme Court, when the financial industry, and when the overseas financial industry, international financial community is like, leave them alone. They really mean something. Here's what I think is gonna happen. Trump's gonna try to push that. And it's going to not only get him kicked out as president, which honestly Epstein and the corruption will get.
I need y'all to know that this dude is always on point. I ain't seen him be wrong about nothing except for a few things. And if he was wrong, he definitely came back on and let you know that he was wrong.
Them out first. But especially with a blue majority, show your asses up. Like I say in every video, show your asses up in November, baby. We need it. But it's going to be a very bitter and big battle. And what I'm saying to people, excuse me, I work around the clock these days. Yes, I do try to get rest, but it's been very busy. Here's the thing. What I think is going to happen, I hope he tries it, but what I think is going to happen is going to scare him off because he's a pretend bully and a little bitch. He subscribes to I'mALittleBitch.com, and he takes his no dick and balls at all pills all the time. And what we're beginning to see is him trying to push the framework. In 18 months, has he been able to really rock the foundation of our government? No. Don't let anybody lie to you about that. He's lost so many times. The judicial branches clap back. Sometimes the Supreme Court claps back. The attorney generals and governors, half the union has clapped back. The nonprofits have clapped back. The intelligence community, which is very rare. Trump is the only person they have ever done this to, is clap back. You have even lawyers who are doing pro bono to clap back in every area, from DEI, immigration, to environment, and so on. They're clapping back. And if he messes with the Fed,
Number one money hack, just download Dave. You could qualify for up to
Double tap that screen,
$500
y'all.
in 5 minutes or less. Dave helps you.
If he
Smash
steps
that
over
like
that
button.
line, it's gonna be his ass. He's gonna be jailed. He's gonna be kicked out. He's gonna be kicked out. And I'm hoping he wants to try it. I'm like, come on, Cletus, come on. But here's the thing. We know he's a punk ass. He'll throw somebody under the bus. And the people working with him better realize, or at least catch a clue, this is the wrong route to fuck with. Do not fuck with the Fed Reserve. That's what Supreme Court said. And he doesn't want a war with the judicial branch. They already discredit themselves through the DOJ following whatever Trump says. They already discredit themselves through the many, many losses. The judicial branch and the Lord of Appeals don't trust them. And to a certain degree, as much as we're upset with the Supreme Court and their decisions, several of their decisions, the Supreme Court doesn't trust them. It's not looking good. It wasn't looking good for natural citizenship, birthright citizenship when he walked.
I need y'all to know that, it's over 85% of his cases he's lost. So make no mistakes. Anything you thought was happening, that's what it was. You thought it was happening. But with win rate that low, man, a lot of shit about to change with these midterms.
Out of the Supreme Court open hearings, and then a couple of days later fired Pam Bondi. That ain't Pam Bondi's fault. You basically wanted her to take a hammer and tear down a 50-foot brick wall. Not happening. Not happening. Now, when you got a little bitty hammer, it's not even working. No hammer time. So if he, in fact, takes on the judicial branch and decides to fuck with the federal chair in any way, all hell's gonna break loose. That's why I want him to try it. Just like I said, if they're gonna rule on birthright citizenship, I hope they start retroactively so they can pull a whole bunch of people out, because that means the Supreme Court is over. It's done. So I want him to end himself in this way, not in his life. Here's the other thing I'm trying to tell people that's really big. You don't fuck with the people with the money. He should know that. You don't fuck with the people with the money. The people who run the banks. There's an old saying by the first Rothschild. He said, give me the banking laws and I care not who runs the country. You fucking with the banks. If there was anything you would think would be an assassination, I would think.
They might let you say some racist shit or jump crazy out your mouth, but they not letting you fuck with no money. That's for sure. And you can tell.
That would be more than anything. I'm not wishing assassination on him. It makes him a martyr. That's the worst thing we could have on our hands, is a bunch of angry MAGA people showing up at the polls. But I'm telling you, it's a whole new game. It's a whole new game. Please, Trump, mess with the Fed Reserve. Locked up. Check out and binge watch the rest of my content. Go over to my homepage. You'll love it.
Sign up for Robinhood and get between
double tap
$5
that screen,
and
y'all. Double tap that
$200
screen,
in
man.
stock.
We entertaining, but we also uncovering the bullshit. Smash that like button. Get in this live stream, man, and get in the comment section. Let's chop it. Let's chop it up. Let me get back to the next shit. Jail for Eric Trump. What y'all think? Double tap that screen. Smash the like button, man. You might as well go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because this is what we do every day, multiple times a day. We go live and we talk about the hot topics, the propaganda, the bullshit, that type of stuff. Smash that like button. Trump starts a civil war between two judges. What y'all know about that? It's over. Hegseth just lost and guaranteed his jail. Guarantees that he is jailed. It's a lot of shit going on, y'all. Trump lost Planned Parenthood. Let's check out this civil war between two judges.
Stay on this video and I'll tell you how Trump has started a civil war between two different judges, a Trump judge and a Biden judge. And basically it comes down to this. What the Biden judge said is you're not going to pull voters' rolls from these 4 states or any states across the nation. And they were trying to pull the voters' rolls and use them for DHS to double check, to follow up, to create a database. And the judge said, no, don't do that. And there have been judges saying that across the board. You just can't make databases off of shit. One of the biggest ones that got him cut off, Trump, was when they said, no, you can't create a social security database checking voters' rolls. We know what you're trying to do. Basically, he's trying to
rig some shit because they see the writing on the wall, man. And when you see the writing on the wall like they see the writing on the wall, then you got to do some other things to shake up the vote or shake up the election or put ICE agents out here, whatever the case may be. Either way, we know that they are afraid of losing, but it's already happened. They already lost.
With the election. Remember, I tell you about the context of what this stuff means, not the news. Well,
Smash
the
that like
Trump-appointed
button.
judge just came in. Now, the Biden-appointed judge was out of Washington State. The Trump-appointed judge was somewhere out of, I don't know, the boondocks, whatever. Point is that the Trump-appointed judge came in and said, no, you can do that for 4 states, Iowa, Ohio, Indiana, and Florida. And so now the DHS has a decision to make. Do they listen to the Trump-appointed judge or the Biden-appointed judge? We know what they're going to try to do. But if they do that, they're going to get in trouble with the federal judges. You can't just decide that you're going to listen to, you want to listen to. If they're smart, through the DOJ, they will go to the Washington judge and ask for clarity based on what they just heard out of this.
Hold up, let's pay these bills real
Total
quick.
battle.
Smash
Play
that
now
like
for
button,
free.
double tap that screen,
A
y'all.
full cart that's lighter on your wallet. That's a breath of fresh air. Download the Upside app and get a $15 bonus on your first purchase.
But we know they're not smart. We know that they're going to listen to what they're going to listen to, which is going to put some people in contempt, and somebody might go into the locked up. They might go into the jail. So basically, this game that they're playing is a pretty rough game, because if they screw around with this, if they mess around with this, they could walk right into a double shitstorm. You hear me? A double one. That's why I'm looking over and I'm saying, okay, are they dumb enough to play against this and then just throw their own people in the DHS and the DOJ under the bus? Will they do that? Because if they do that, 1, that's going to look bad in front of their whole team on both sides. And 2, the person who gets thrown under the bus might cover their own ass and start talking. Because there's a lot of weird shit happening in the DOJ. And I've said for the last 18 months, there's some people out the DOJ going to jail. Starting with Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and working its way down. There are U.S. attorneys going out of jail. That's why that Virginia U.S. attorney resigned, and Trump had to try to put in another U.S. attorney, one of his former lawyers, of course. And you know what happened? The judicial branch kicked her out and kicked another lady out, the U.S. attorney for New Jersey, because they said you had improper procedure in placing them in there. So you're gone. And they took them out, and they end up dropping that case against Comey and Letitia James. That's how they lost, because they don't know how to do shit structurally. And according to all the court records and the dockets, they keep getting in trouble, not based on decisions against them, but, rulings through a judge or they're getting in trouble because they don't know how to structure cases. The perfect example of that I always bring up is the trans case that the DOJ tried to bring against, with the Pentagon, tried to bring against transgender people in the military service. They brought evidence, they said, proved that trans people were not good in military service. But the evidence pointed out in truth that they were good in military service. The judge threw it out. I'm trying to get you to understand the whole, what this really means is that It's going to be a battle royal, bumping heads. But if we look at the last 18 months, we've been winning by 80% in lower cases, in appeals courts. You know, it may go up to the Supreme Court, but if we think about what the Supreme Court has ruled on in cases of creating voter log and stuff for elections and midterms, actually that could rule in our favor, because the one over post office certainly did in the last 2 weeks. We've had some good wins, but at the same time in the lower courts, the judges, we've had excellent wins come across the board. So we got a civil war, and I've been talking about the judicial civil war for some time. This time is across both people in the lower courts. But in general, there's been one between the lower and appeals and Supreme Courts, because Supreme Court is ruling on shit that's making the appeals and the lower courts side-eye the hell out of them, because they don't understand the reasoning behind the positioning and what they're doing. So what does this really all mean to us? It's still an ongoing fight for democracy. We actually are winning. It just doesn't feel like it, because we're getting beat up every day, fighting back and forth in the courts, in the streets, activism, everything involved. We're even in a war of narrative warfare, as I call it. The idea is that he's trying to lie 24/7. He will lie 24/7, Trump. He manipulates. He wants you looking at the $400 million plane versus Epstein. You know, always call ESGN in here, which stands for Epstein Subsidies, Gerrymandering, No Kings. And then we call LMP. And people always ask me, what's LMP mean? After I even tell them in the video. LMP stands for lies, manipulation, like I said, $400 million plane versus Epstein, and he projects authority he doesn't have. And this is a perfect example of projecting that authority. He thinks that if he does executive orders or he just says so, he can do it. But the problem is, we got 3 branches of government, and he does not own the other 2. That's the biggest lie out there. He owns the other 2 branches, Darren. No, he don't. No, he don't, bitch. He does not. This guy is coming in and fucking up the whole game, and that's why he's going to jail. That's why.
See, these are the type of live streams you need to listen to, because they're gonna tell you what the Democrats are doing. That's bullshit. We're gonna tell you what the Republicans are doing. That's bullshit. And there's a lot of shit on both sides. We could probably stack both of them high to the goddamn sky. Well, we know it's a lot of bullshit on both sides.
Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche is going to jail. That's why Christy Noem's going to jail. That's why Stephen Miller's going to jail. Stephen, what you call it, said he's going. Steve Bannon said he knows he's going to jail. You know what I'm saying? He could be impeached. Everybody is, and you say, well, Trump or J.D. Vance, if he's president, will pardon him. But I keep introducing people to the idea that we have states. This is the United States of America, and so many people in the United States, yeah, they ain't feeling that. Meaning that they ain't about to take no shit. There's gonna be some shit going down that we're about to see. It's gonna be crazy. But the thing I want you to understand is that this is a process. It's slow as fuck. I know. It's slow as fuck. But the good news is the reason we're winning by 80% is because we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And it's a slow process, but it gets them. And they're going to get got if Trump don't die first. Remember this always. He didn't win. He's not winning now. He's on the list. The list is coming out. And if he lives so long, he's going to jail and he's going to have company. Now, I want you to go to my homepage and watch my last roughly.
I heard that. He's going to jail, and he's going to have company. So I know it's a lot of people out there that don't believe that anything like that could happen, but you gotta understand this. They might let you say some wild shit about the Obamas, some wild shit about Michelle or whatever, but what they're not gonna let you do is steal money. See, that's a whole different thing. It's one thing when you're offending people. There's another thing when you're stealing from 'em. So, with that being said, you don't got to worry. The justice system, if it's anything, is going to bring this shit to an end. I guarantee you that.
7 to 10 videos because you would get clarity all across the board, understanding what's really going on. Because the truth is, yeah, we're winning. The truth is, even in the midst of a civil war, it's a civil war that we're winning. And
I'm an AI robot and I trade with you. I work for just $20 in your account. I watch the market all day. When my strategy finds a trade, it lands on your phone for you to approve.
First of all, understand this. Eric's going to jail, but his brothers are going to, including his brother-in-law, Jared. They're all going to jail. Eric Trump is going to jail. He's going to jail. And I'm telling you it's happening. And I'm going to give you context. Because remember, this is not about latest breaking news. You can go find that from wherever. I'm talking about context, what it means to us as liberals, and what happened, and what happens next. You ready? Let's go. First of all, understand this. Eric's going to jail, but his brothers are going to, including his brother-in-law, Jared. They're all going to jail. They are in fucking trouble big time. If you one of them people who like to say, well, no, Donald Trump's going to pardon him, bitch, please. It ain't happening. I'm going to tell you how they're going to get his ass in jail without the feds and with the feds. You ready? Let's go. Why would he be in jail, Darren? Well, here's the thing. Him and...
Pay attention, y'all. Pay the hell attention. And get in the chat. If you want to debate this, get in the chat. Also, hit that poll.
his brothers are tied into crypto super deep. Now, you might say, well, what's the big deal about crypto? Do you know during the midterms for Republicans, the #1 donors giving away hundreds of millions is crypto? They're doing everything they can to get on Trump's side. Yes, even more than AI. I looked it up. They're doing more investment in Republicans than AI. They're giving a serious bag because they know they can make a fortune on any policies of Trump. And they have. Here's what I'm talking about. Trump and Barron, for instance, made 120 million, 250 million. Eric has made hundreds of millions. He's worth 400 million. Don is worth hundreds of millions. Don Jr. And they've made money off of the crypto game. Every time Trump does something with tariffs, every time he does something with policies on businesses like NVIDIA, allowing NVIDIA to invest in China, they know first. And they're allowed to get in there and make sure that they're positioned, and he's giving policies to their companies. That's the first thing. There's more. There's more. Follow me. Follow me. Here's the thing. Eric is tied into Trump's business so fucking deep. He's the vice president over there. And he's tied in there like he's got nothing. He doesn't know. He doesn't have any knowledge. Bullshit. If he don't have any knowledge, why is he tied into 20 plus companies that are everywhere from crypto to military technology, and he's giving...
You don't understand that shit is illegal. And just because you got some goddamn immunity, trust me, that shit is going to be stripped. Because they know that that's the reason that you're doing all this shit.
His companies he's tied into have gotten over $3 billion with a B dollars in federal grants. Something is missed. They're going to get his ass, and they're going to get his brothers, and they're going to get his father if his father lives so long. Understand who they is. We are going to show up in them polls in November like a bat out of hell. We gonna vote like our lives depend on it. And like I always say, vote every 2 years like your life depends on it. This will never happen again. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill our Medicaid. Right now, do you know 50,000 people may die this year because 4 million people on Affordable Care Act don't have their benefits because it's been stalled in Senate. It's been stalled in Senate. So what I'm trying to tell you right now is that there are people dying right now over the benefits. There are people that could die when the big, beautiful bill hits if we don't have a Democratic majority to shut it down. They're literally trying to kill us through ICE. They're literally trying to kill us through Iran. We just got bombed. Our service members, I'm praying for them like you are, they just got bombed because of this war, and there's been lives lost. They've been trying to kill people through ICE. Renee Nicole Good, Keith Porter, Alex Peretti. Detainees dying in detention centers from infants to elderly. Okay, let's be clear. Deportees who go to other countries, they were fleeing and get killed. This is happening. So I say fuck them. They are just going for it. But they're mad that they're going to get investigated. That's why Trump and his family and everybody been having meetings in our White House Situation Room on how to get out of this shit. Between that and between Epstein.
I know it's hard to believe, but you could qualify for extra cash up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. I'm always...
Now let me tie it in for you.
Yeah, I know this shit is hard to believe. You might think, oh, they gonna get away with it. He has immunity, qualified immunity, and all this shit that all these people in the comment section like to jump in and say for certainty, like they know what the hell they're talking about. And we learned quickly that qualified immunity shit was bogus. It's people that's under investigation. It's all kind of war crime shit being filed, and yeah, it's not just gonna go away. This shit is here to stay.
I just mentioned crypto, right? I just mentioned government contracts. All the brothers, with the exception of Barron, have government contracts. Jared does, Eric does, Don does. They have government contracts and ties to it. In fact, Don got a company $620 million contract by getting the White House to pressure the DOD to give the company that contract. Nothing but ugliness. And so when we show up in the courts, in the polls, here's what happens. When we show up in the polls, they already got in the Democratic Party subcommittees. And the intelligence community has been feeding stuff to the media and to these subcommittees to get them, as well as to the states. I'm going to get to the states a little later. You want to listen to that. What I'm saying is starting January 3rd, as long as we do our job in November, on November 3rd, there's going to be straight up investigation starting. Now, the thing they got to start first is to save our medical benefits from the big, beautiful bullshit bill. Okay? They need to save that first before they go after any Trump, any investigation. But they can do two things at once. They're coming for him. They're coming for him. And they've said it. And even Trump said, they'll impeach me and come after you. Mike Johnson said they'll impeach us. They all come after us. Absolutely. That's why the Senate's spending $300 million into making sure that this motherfucker stays in power, because they're afraid, and the blue wave is indeed coming. We got to show up. We got to show up. What does Eric Trump come into this? Well, they're investigating the whole family, not just Trump. And understand this. These tie-ins with crypto, these tie-ins with government contracts, these tie-ins with these weird deals that they're doing. Do you know every time Trump goes to NATO or goes to a summit, the brothers go traveling throughout Europe and start working deals with multinational companies and with other companies, with countries. And let me tell you the crypto scam they got going on with the Trump coin. You got everything from Saudis to, billionaires to multi-trillion, multi-billion-dollar companies putting money in that coin. They loan against the coin. Their cash flow from all their businesses pays off the loan, and the loan is 100% non-taxable, like all loans that are non-taxable. So they're living off that, and they're reinvesting that, and they're getting money from under the table stuff. But there's one little problem. Most people don't know this about crypto. 2 words for you. Actually 3, kind of 3. Open blockchain, bitch. Okay, that's 5. I'm telling you, they are going to get caught, because the crypto is just about keeping it safe for you, like your passcode. The open blockchain is public. They get access, and they're going to get access. They're going to find out something, and they're going to find out the fact that all these companies and strange people put money in there. And these same people who put money in there were getting government contract deals. We're getting on the inside of the policies that Trump makes on crypto and on companies so they can buy stock earlier. That's why they've been doing this predictive platform shit like crazy. That's why they've been running around doing it. That's the reason, y'all. What I'm trying to break down to you is that the game is the game. What they're doing is gaming the government, and they learned that from not only good old daddy, but good old granddaddy, Fred Trump. Fred Trump made his fortune off of government contract money for building houses. And that's why the Nixon administration, think about what I just said, the Nixon administration sued him for discrimination, because Black people in New York were not allowed in their buildings, and they purposely were blocking out black people. And that's why they got in trouble. Look at the movie The Apprentice. Again, Eric Trump is tied into all of this as a owner of crypto, as a associate, as an advisor. He's tied in, he's knee deep in all this shit. And when they start investigating, they, meaning the Democratic majority Congress coming after their ass, it's going to be a whole new game. Oh, but it gets better. Are you ready? It gets better. What we're talking about now is not only them coming after this guy and coming after his sons and his family, but they're also going to open up conversations about, not just conversation, but really open up, because with the Oversight Committee being majority Democratic, Garcia will probably get it. He's been doing a great job just being on that committee, and he's Democrat, and he's the one doing the subpoenas of all the Epstein people. The Epstein shit is going to open them up. See, I've said this for the last 18 months. Trump wasn't just protecting himself and his friends in Epstein. He was protecting his sons, like father, like son. He got plenty of tail, little baby kid tail, and they did too. They were tied into this shit. This Epstein society ain't no joke. And Barron's probably fucking underage girls now. Let's be very clear what the process is and what is happening. What we're seeing right now is a scenario where Eric Trump is knee deep in Epstein, knee deep in corruption with all of these contracts and with crypto.
Get more crypto for your cash and get started with as little as $1.
They're shopping America for their own right, for their own good. And it's horrible, but it's going to come to an end. Here's how they're coming at him. Not only are they investigating to put him in jail, I know, again, earlier I said in the beginning, but Donald Trump will pardon him. First of all, he can't pardon himself. Let's be very clear. Second of all, yeah, he'll pardon him. But here's the thing. The states, I'm the only one that mentions this all the time. The states, you can't pardon somebody from a state conviction. And if they've done any kind of corruption, any kind of tie-in with Epstein, anything, they're going to come after him. They're certainly coming after Trump over Epstein. Letitia James is out of New York, the AG for New York. And what I'm saying to you right now is that this is going to become a very interesting...
Remember that name, Letitia James. She is going to be on their ass. She already is. But remember that name. So trust me, her name already on the ticket.
Scenario. We're about to watch these brothers, we're about to watch this family go down. Because even if they somehow skip and walk through getting out of jail with the feds, if they get out of that, okay, they're still in a hell of a lot of trouble with the states. There is a pathway to jail for every one of his sons, and they're going to get in trouble, big trouble. The other thing is, the question becomes, who's going to turn them in? Let me put it to you like this. There's enough evidence that the intelligence community has. That's why he's trying to fire all of the intelligence people, Trump, and all the watchdogs. They got enough evidence to prove this shit. Remember, the first group he fired was the Inspector Generals. The second group was the FBI, CIA, and NSA. Why are they doing that? Because, unfortunately, he's in trouble. He just walked into this shit and started this shit, and it's going to bite him back in the ass because the intelligence community is providing information. Oh, it gets even better, though, when you think about a couple of things. Not only are they providing information to the Congress and the Congress coming after him, not only do you have the states who can follow up if somehow he ends up pardoning his sons, just like Biden did.
Do y'all understand how good this shit is and how good this shit sounds? I still need to see the action. It sounds good, but I gotta see it really, really happen. Because it would be so great.
Hunter, what Biden did with Hunter, it could go even deeper, where if they can tie the brothers into any international information that's been exchanged in the wrong way, they could hunt their ass down and put them on treason charges. Now that's a stretch, I admit, but there's no telling how much information has been leaked out through this family. And we're talking about critical U.S. information. I don't think any of you would have any problem believing that, right? So here's the thing. If the feds don't get them in jail, Eric, the states can, and you cannot be pardoned by a president through a state conviction. Remember this very importantly. These are the United States of America. And if there's anything that ties into any states that are blue, it's their ass. One way or another, they're on the way. Now, binge watch my other content. I got other content. I talked about how Don, how Barron are going to jail. I always talk about Trump going to jail and how he gets closer and closer to that jail cell. It's happening. It's happening. There's a pathway there. Just wait, focus, binge watch my content, and you'll see what's going on.
Total Battle. Play now for free.
Everybody's potential looks different. See yours with Acorns.
Pay attention, y'all.
Designed for you to easily invest.
This is where we're going to give you the info. We're going to give you the info. It happened again.
But it peeled off. Why? Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument.
And you're 100% sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, and we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
There are photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350 foot gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool?
Dana, I'm not sure why you and others in the media think that you want to keep trying to question whether or not
What specific evidence do you have to back up that claim?
Well, we have the actual cuts that were made into the industrial liner, and that's been measured out. So that's just a fact that's what we've got to go back and repair.
There's a 350-foot gash?
Well, it's multiple gashes that add up to 350 feet.
But you don't have video evidence of people making those gashes.
Well, we do have video, and we do have eyewitness reports.
Right.
The real issue that caused the peeling was rushing the seams between each day's spray job instead of properly bonding them, and they may have sprayed straight over the pool's expansion joints instead of working around them, all because the whole thing had to be done in time for Trump's July 4th photo op, which, as you can clearly see, looks more like the Chicago River on St. Patrick's Day. And now, thanks to Trump, we've got dead ducks floating in the reflecting pool because this moron treated a national monument like a weekend DIY Instagram project. Probably would have been good if the Trump administration had read the warning label on the rhino liner, which clearly says toxic for aquatic life with long-lasting effects. But that would assume they can read, something we know that Trump hates to do because, well, he can't.
We got rid of the algae, which they put in. They put in algae. Who the hell put in algae? Science?
This guy is so far down the dementia rabbit hole that he's now blaming people in frog costumes for the algae.
Anybody that's there and anybody that was there last week before the fireworks started being installed on either side of the reflecting pool could see that the water was crystal clear. So that part's been taken care of.
That is murky, thick. I wouldn't even say forest green. I would say like nasty green. Hey, I'm not crazy. What color is this?
This is definitely green. That's insane.
It's definitely green, right?
It's definitely green. It's definitely supposed to be blue.
I think it's even darker green than the grass outside of the reflecting pool itself. Thought that they had sucked all the algae out of it or whatever, but...
Yeah, I heard about that, but it looks, I mean, there's definitely something in there. Yeah, it's pretty green.
It looks really green. I didn't think it was going to be this green.
I did. You did? It's science. There's algae blooms in a shallow pool like this in a 100-degree day. That's how it works.
The algae is all gone. I mean, that was a momentary thing as it was being refilled. There was algae in the pipes, but the new technology, the nanobubblers that have been installed, if you go down there today and look at it, it is completely clean and clear.
Take a look at the reflecting pool just a couple days after the July 4th fireworks show. It's littered with trash, debris, and ash, and guess what? It is very much still green. And now the Trump administration says they're going right back to the same people who broke it the first time, Atlantic Industrial Coatings.
How much is it going to cost to fix? And are you going to use the same company that you did in the no-bid contract, or will you open it up to new bids?
We'll use the same company because they did a fantastic job. The job that was done to fix the reflecting pool was done extremely well.
Sure, Jan. They're also sticking with the other company that got a $1.7 million no-bid deal, ironically named Greenwater Services, owned through a trust run by Trump donor and Batman villain lookalike John Cafaro. Oh, and a quick note on this whole mess. The president and COO of Greenwater Services admitted that they've never done a pool before.
We've never done a pool, but the water's relatively the same as the water that you would see out in a regular lake somewhere.
So with Trump skipping the bidding process to save time with a corrupt no-bid emergency contract, he actually caused the pool to be closed, fenced off, and guarded by the National Guard for weeks longer than doing it right ever would have taken.
What?
This summer, the Cup is taking over the U.S. from coast to coast, and now DraftKings is too.
Idiot! Oh, what a loser! And now, Trump has turned his DC U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro into his own personal pool cop for his swampy reflecting pool.
Today, a grand jury has returned a felony indictment against a defendant, David Hearn, for felony destruction of property, for which he faces 10 years in prison. We can state and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he caused damage, and that damage is over $1,000.
This is a meritless prosecution. We will get into all the details in court. Every American should be concerned about this kind of thing. And of course, as you pointed out,
in the case called John Doe versus Joseph Edlow. John Doe, because they don't want to identify themselves. They're worried that they're going to be outed or somehow retaliated against by the federal government. And I love Judge Marbley for a number of reasons. One, has one of the greatest judge names of all times. Secondly, he just calls it like he sees it, including having clip after clip after clip referenced in footnotes about Donald Trump's animus towards black and brown people. He's effectively calling Donald Trump a racist, and that infects and animates his policies. Here's what he says on page 7. This order I posted in Legal AF Substack for you to review. In sum, the judge says, both the president and vice president have publicly and repeatedly expressed outright hostility toward immigrants, both before and after the 2024 presidential election. Their ire appears focused on immigrants from countries in the Caribbean, South America, Africa, and Asia. As the Supreme Court just observed in a case called Mullen, actually this one, a Mullen case at the Supreme Court, written by Justice Kagan, President Trump's comments have broadly denigrated countries and maligned certain groups of immigrants, including Haitians, claiming that they are poisoning the blood of the United States. The judge continues, this general hostility to immigration contrasts with an apparent interest in and preference for the migration of white people. Aside from a stated desire for more Scandinavian immigration, President Trump has sought to welcome white South Africans, and he has an executive order to that effect. And the judge is saying, I'm not going to ignore that and statements about shithole countries. In fact, here's Donald Trump attacking those other countries in his, while he was on the campaign trail. Let's play the clip.
If Kamala gets 4 more years, the entire country will be turned into a migrant camp, and that's what's happening. Millions and millions of people. When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins.
And then you have the whole cats and dogs are being eaten by Haitians thing, which Donald Trump repeated at a debate with Kamala Harris, even though J.D. Vance basically admitted he made it up in order to get media attention. Here's J.D. Vance admitting that he made it up to get media attention. He didn't really believe cats and dogs were being eaten. Play it.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
But it
if
wasn't
I have
just a
to
meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
You just said that this is a story that you
Yes.
created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not
We are
accurate.
creating, Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. I didn't create 20,000 illegal migrants coming into Springfield thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. Her policies did that, but yes, we created the actual focus that allowed the American media to talk about this story and the suffering caused by Kamala Harris's policies.
Crazy. Must be an expensive game then. No, bro, it's free to play. Okay, well, there must be a lot of ads. No ads. So wait, you're telling me you can play it out here? Yeah, bro, you can play it anywhere. Bro, sounds like I need to.
And yet that didn't stop Donald Trump, as the judge in this opinion noted, from saying it during the debate with Kamala Harris. Play the clip.
We're a failing nation, and it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as
motherfucker will make some shit up, boy. I tell you, man. And ain't too many people I know that loud like motherfuckers that look like Donald Trump.
rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the city
saying
manager.
Their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that.
Running a business means you're always reachable until you're not. And the most for Connor's hostility to foreign nationals and immigrants from certain countries, predominantly countries in Africa, the Middle East, and the Caribbean, that the administration deems to be undesirable, or, in the words of President Trump, shithole countries. In fact, just to remind you that he actually said it, the judge gave us a footnote for it as well. Here's a clip.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries.
Many other countries.
I didn't say shithole, you did. Remember I said that to the senators they came in, the Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime.
It's so bad in terms of the language that Donald Trump has used that the court observed that the Supreme Court has said the language is so out of bounds that even the lawyers at the United States Supreme Court for the Department of Justice would not, and the majority that voted for Donald Trump on the Supreme Court would not use those terms. Here's what it says on page 45. Or, as the Supreme Court observed in Mullen, President Trump has made statements that broadly denigrate countries or malign certain groups of immigrants, such as Haitians who have come to the United States. That puts it mildly, the judge says. As the Mullen dissent by Kagan explains, the evidence of racial animus is there plain to see in the president's statements, which the majority and the government's lawyers cannot even bear to repeat. These statements include, this is from a Supreme Court decision, repellent and racially inflected statements about certain shithole countries whose nationals are poisoning the blood of the United States. I mean, this is literally blood libel against a group of people. Meanwhile, then Secretary Noem made statements that expressed antipathy toward travelers from countries covered by a renewed travel ban or made derogatory comments about immigration and its effects. While Mullen ultimately concluded those statements were unlikely to show that race was a motivating factor in the termination of the temporary protective status, and thus found that Haitian foreign nationals would not be entitled to interim relief, these statements have a different valence in this case, where the issue is one of possible.
Hey man, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, comment, and share the video, man. Let's get down to it. This is what we do every day, multiple times a day. Let's get it.
Impropriety in agency and action. In other words, he's saying when they were analyzing whether temporary protective status could be terminated by the Trump administration, all right, then maybe in particular that set of facts was not relevant. It's relevant to the judge here, to Judge Marbley here. He's issued a preliminary injunction. He's found the Administrative Procedures Act has been violated, that they're likely to succeed on the merits, and has ordered, at least for this group in front of him, that those benefits, green card processing and work authorization processing, start flowing. I just can't believe in 2026, I've got to talk about shithole countries coming out of the mouth of Donald Trump. But of course, as I said, it would eventually make its way into court cases. Yet another example, and we have thousands of them, of Donald Trump, in his own words, being used in cases against him in a losing cause. I'm going to continue to follow it all right here on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button at Legal AF YouTube channel as well. Come over to our Legal AF Substack, where you can read this 69-page opinion on your own. Until my next report, this is Michael. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.
Total Battle. Play now for free.
Donald Trump is shaking as the death threats against him are escalating at the Ayatollah's funeral, as the funeral has moved from Iran to Iraq and back to Iran. We've been seeing all of these signs and massive banners threatening Donald Trump's life. Now, Netanyahu had a call with Donald Trump in the past 24 hours talking about assassination plots and death threats against him from Iran. But you need only look at the crowds in Iran who are absolutely furious at the Ayatollah's funeral, at the procession, both in Iran and Iraq. We've seen the signs everywhere. And then earlier, we saw a massive Lego float that the Iranians who were there burned, like they burned the effigy, this massive Lego float of Donald Trump. They lit on fire, and lots of people were wondering, what is this? Why are they bringing out this massive Lego Trump in Mashhad? And then it turned out because they were burning it. Here is just some signs on the building that you see. Here are some of the signs that the mourners, the millions of people who were there, were holding up. Let me show you as this gigantic, massive Lego Trump is rolled out on this crane. You can see for yourself. And then indeed they burned that massive Lego Trump. I will show you what that looked like. And this took place in one of Iran's biggest cities as well, Mashhad. You can see, and this was the last day of the Ayatollah's procession. Here, play this clip. Now, as I noted before, Israel recently shared intelligence with the United States indicating that Iran was considering a new plot to assassinate Donald Trump, the Wall Street Journal reports, citing people familiar with the matter. Here's the article right here. Iran hatched fresh plot to kill Trump, Israel told the U.S. Israel recently shared new intelligence with the U.S. that they showed Iran was considering a new plan. Did they show those photos and the processions where there were signs everywhere, I guess, is my question. Also, the Prime Minister of Israel's account says that they also told Donald Trump that the Turkish President Erdogan has made very severe statements against Israel and the threats that are being made by Turkey against Israel, according to this account right here. Now, we've been hearing from Donald Trump about being the #1 person on Iran's assassination list. That's what Donald Trump said aboard the Air Force One. It should be noted yesterday, Donald Trump did not fly back from Turkey on the Qatari Air Force One. He flew back on the old Air Force One, and most people believe it was out of security concerns over potential assassination attempts, because the old Air Force One has the defensive capabilities to potentially deter missiles and drones and rockets, and the new Qatari Air Force One doesn't. Here's what Donald Trump said about being on a list. Play this clip.
Possibly think you try. Well, I mean, if they asked you to close your windows, probably they feel that way. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it. No, these are sick people, so I could see something like that. I didn't know they did that, but I could see something.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force One?
Well, I have a threat all the time. I'm #1 on their list before you. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a specific threat today?
Perhaps someday you want to change professions.
And then Donald Trump also said at the NATO summit that he was top on the list, and he talked about being the president. You have about a 5% chance of being assassinated. Here, play this clip.
It's a very dangerous profession. No, I'm #1 on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm #1. So I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I don't really care, because I'm doing my job, and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it, because we have a country that's hot and really, really successful. But I mention it only because it's on the list. I mean, it came out. There was another list came out yesterday, and I'm #1 on. I like being #1 on TikTok better, but I'm #1 on the list for killing.
Then earlier in the day, during one of the sessions that Donald Trump was speaking at while he was sitting, he mused about getting assassinated and said, so far, I guess I've been a little lucky, but maybe that doesn't last very long. That's how it goes. Here, play this clip.
In trouble for 47 years, and we took out their first set of leaders. We took out their second set of leaders. They want to take out the U.S. leader, me. I'm on every list. I saw things this morning. I'm on every single one of their lists. And so far, I guess I've been a little bit lucky, but that maybe doesn't last very long, because that's the way it goes. But we have great people. But these are evil, sick people, and we have to rid their cancer. Their cancer. And you know what you do? You got to cut out cancer early. Man, that's the way I feel.
Then Donald Trump talked about how roadside bombs and others, as you're driving around, it just blows off your face so you have no legs or anything. Here, play this clip.
They had the roadside bomb, Soleimani. I took care of him.
Anthony, what up? Iran is going to keep dragging him with the Lego shit. Man, they've been dragging him the whole time. What's up, Anthony? Good to see you, brother.
first term. And it was a big thing because I think he probably would be a lot stronger had he been around, because he was a bad guy, but he was an evil genius, but a bad guy. And he was the father of the roadside bomb. The roadside bomb is a bomb that goes on when you're driving your little vehicle around, and it goes on and you have no legs, no arms, and no face. And they've killed thousands and thousands of people.
Now, it should also be noted that I think one of the reasons that Donald Trump has been saying that he wants to build this ballroom is he's terrified of all of these assassination attempts that he believes are taking place, at least. Donald Trump says that the new ballroom, this is what he said before heading to the NATO summit, will be missile-proof and will have a drone port. Here, play this clip.
But we were able to get 921 people in. And this will hold many times that numbers of people without the tables as seats. And bulletproof, drone-proof, missile-proof in many cases, and beautiful at the same time. And a big military component, including on the roof, a drone port. Can you believe we have a drone port? And it's like no other. So we're doing a great service. It's great national security. We also take care of a need. Every president said, this is crazy.
And then one of the odd things that he kind of constantly says at all of these pressers is he refers to the questions that are being asked of him as kill shots. So when before he left to go to the NATO summit, he said to Michael Dell, those questions, Michael, they're all kill shots. They're all kill shots. Here, play this clip.
Every question's a kill, you know that. Every question's a kill. Right?
Sir, we don't have a helicopter. We have a delicopter.
And then when Trump was on Air Force One, he concluded the gaggle by saying, every question is a kill. Every question you ask me is a kill, he says. Here, play this clip.
And every question is a kill. But then we have Daniel and some very good reporters. You're a great reporter, Ron. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, there you have it, folks. I want to know what you think about this. Let me hear in the comments below what you have to say about this. Thank you. Make sure you subscribe and help us get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MidasPlus.com.
Donald Trump.
Other gear should be percent stats. Download now and use this promo code to get a sweet head start.
A full cart that's lighter on your wallet. That's a breath of fresh air. Download the Upside app and get a $15 bonus on your first purchase.
So do you guys remember the other day we showed a speech that was given at this weird Christian-Israeli summit? And it was like somebody from a South Korean delegation who gave this speech, and she was crying. And she was crying, and she was like, I apologize for everything I've done to besmirch the state of Israel. The glorious state of Israel, yes! And the crying on stage. It's very weird. It's very bizarre, because it's like, why are you crying? What exactly are you crying about? Why are you at this weird event that's supposed to be like a Christian Israeli get-together? What is with this self-flagellation that so many people do when they go to Israel and they talk about, like, I'm not worthy. Israel's the land of the chosen people. Yes, the chosen ones. It's like, what is this? It's so bizarre to watch this like outright supremacist mindset in the year 2026 and this religious delusional garbage in the year 2026, where people pretend like God granted the Israelis this land. It's like, what does that even mean? Honestly, what does that mean? There's over 4,000 religions. None of them have been proven. What do we talk? Which God? And what does that mean? And what religion are you talking about? Like, how did we get here? Why do these people think that if they wear their funny hats and have long beards, that makes them like above criticism? Glenn Beck, also known as Colonel Sanders, he's at this event, this Kufi event. I believe that stands for Christians United for Israel. It's a classic like Christian Zionist gathering, right? Where all the Christians go out there, they self-flagellate, and they say, oh, Israel's so special and so holy, and the Jews are the chosen people, and I apologize for the history of anti-Semitism among Christians. Well, anyway, he gives a speech, and he does the thing. He starts crying over anti-Semitism and crying about Israel. I don't know what's wrong with these people, bro, but something's seriously fucked up in their heads. Let's watch. Here we go.
Look what they did in the death camps. You arrived on a train, they didn't write down your name. They took your name from you, and they gave you a number. You are now just a number on a page. You are no longer a man. You are a number on a forearm. That's the entire philosophy in one act of ink.
Where's this passionate speech when it comes to defending the Palestinians who are being mass murdered right the fuck now? He's doing this anti-Holocaust bit, which is like, great, I hate the Holocaust too, duh. But there is a Holocaust going on right now, and it's being carried out by Israel, the country you continuously suck off.
You're not called by name. You're a unit. You're a quantity. You're the collective's property now, and you're interchangeable. You're nothing. And against that number stands the whole testimony of Scripture. Because God looks at that same arm, that same soul, and he does the opposite. He gives you back your name. That's the war. That's the war we're fighting now. And it's not political. It never has been political. It's spiritual all the way down to the marrow of the bone. It's a spiritual war, and there are casualties, and we're already losing people, and you know the names. Men and women who once stood on this very ground as our friends. They wore the pin, they prayed the prayer, and now they're just asking questions. They found the category. They found the category. They needed a scapegoat, and they reached where men always reach, for the oldest one on the shelf. And I am sad to say some of them will not be coming back. Somebody asked me, I was doing an interview on the way over here, a reporter asked me, how do you feel about what's going on? And I said, I know this doesn't come from me, because I'm not like this naturally. I know this comes from God. I am beginning to seriously mourn for the people who are lost. I feel the pain that I think the Lord must feel when he's losing his children one by one. I don't find anger. I'm finding deep sorrow and empathy for them.
What is wrong with this guy? What is wrong with this guy? Why are you crying?
The grief-shaped truth of this hour is that when the world is looking for a simple enemy, it is offering you a drug. And some of the people that we love will take that drug and will be lost and never be able to shake it.
This shit is so fucking dishonest, bro. It is so dishonest. Here's the fact of the matter. Hatred of Jews is fucking stupid. Just like hatred of black people is fucking stupid. Hatred of any minority group, sexual, religious, ethnic, otherwise, it's all stupid. It's all dumb. Prejudging is dumb. You have to judge individuals as individuals. Having said that, stop playing this dumb game when we all know there is legitimate hatred of the Israeli government because of their policies, because of their war crimes, because of the genocide they're carrying out. You don't get to conflate criticism of Israel with criticism of Jews as people and pretend like all anger at the genocide Israel did is actually really just anti-Semitism that's masked. No, fuck you. Because then what you're saying is it's impossible to legitimately criticize a genocide being carried out. That's the actual argument they're making. And that is so fucking dishonest. If anything, it leads to an increase in anti-Semitism for the way that these people react to it. To try to say, like, no, you're actually not mad at Israel. You're mad at all Jews. It's like you're trying to lead to an increase in anti-Semitism. You are insisting on an increase of anti-Semitism, as opposed to accepting the criticism at face value that, no, they're actually mad about the massacring of little babies in fucking Gaza. Okay? Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, but we're not done because, same fucking thing here, bro. How many times has Mike Huckabee, the fuckabee himself, how many times has his dumbass, it seems like he's given a speech in Israel every other day. And every day it's the same thing. Our history has been so bad. It's been so mean to you. It's been so rude. The United States of America could not exist without Israel. And it's like, hey, dipshit, we did exist without Israel. Israel was created in the fucking 1940s.
I recently got into a little bit of controversy. because I had the audacity to say something that I believe from the depths of my heart, and that is that as we celebrate America's 250th birthday, we need to understand where our roots come from. And I said the roots of America actually come right there in Jerusalem. And people thought, where in the world would you come up with that?
What are we supposed to do with these people, bro? Genuinely, what are we supposed to do with these people? He said America could not exist without Israel. We literally did exist without Israel. I don't know why he's insistent. Actually, I do know. Well, who am I kidding? I know exactly why he does this. He does this because he's an apocalyptic end times Christian psychopath. He thinks he thinks Jesus is going to come back on a winged horse and bring him up to heaven. But in order for that to happen, in his biblical prophecy, Israel has to have all of the Middle East. That's why Mike Huckabee said to Tucker's face, Israel should take it all, meaning it should take the entire Middle East. That's why he said it. Because he knows in order for Jesus to come back in his fucking delusions, that's what has to happen. And so now he goes out, oh, America couldn't exist without Israel, even though it fucking literally did. It's quite the opposite. Israel couldn't exist without America. If we cut off the money and cut off the weapons, they would die on the fucking vine, y'all. That's what would happen. It's a fucking settler colonial apartheid terror state. And it'd be gone like that if we actually followed through and cut off the money and cut off the weapons. And that's why they've decided, the Israel lobby has found a way to pack the cabinet full of nothing but the biggest fucking delusional, fundamentalist religious psychopaths who are more committed to Israel than the U.S., which is why fucking Huckabee says shit like this. I can't, man. I can't. I don't know what the fuck this weird humiliation ritual is, but I'll tell you this. I am pretty fucking sure that there's all sorts of disastrous information on all of these people who humiliate themselves on a regular basis for Israel. I know that Epstein blackmail file is thick as fuck, y'all. We know they got Trump dead to rights. We know they probably got the Katie Johnson video, what he did to that 13-year-old girl. They probably got all sorts of pictures and videos of Trump that Netanyahu has access to because Epstein was Mossad and all that information got back to Israel. There's probably a reason why he's restarting that war with Iran right now. Because he wasn't given a choice. Hey, you better restart that war. We're going to show the world exactly what you did with Epstein. Right? There's probably shit on Mike Huckabee. There's probably shit on 60, 70% of the people who are in power. That would be my guess. Because at this point, there's no rational way to describe the over-the-top fealty and loyalty to a terrorist rape apartheid state. Other than that, other than actual blackmail, a lot of corruption, a lot of buying people off, that gets you a certain amount of the way, but then there's also got to be some sort of fucking blackmail shit, because I've never seen anything like this. Keep track, man. Everybody who goes to one of these weird events and starts crying for Israel, they have pictures and videos of them doing some of the most heinous shit you've ever seen. You can bet on that.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
The CIA will so ruin a person whose politics they don't like that he can never work again. I did 23 months in a federal prison.
We went to war in Iran because of Israel?
Absolutely, yes. The Iranians were no threat to the United States. I believed Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad access agent. The Shin Bet officer, he had his glasses down like this. He says to me, "You are Jewish?" And I said, "I am not recruitable."
I assume that there are things that you know that you still can't say.
Absolutely.
How bad are they?
Yeah, it's pretty ugly.
One advisor said that once Trump receives a call from an international number he doesn't recognize, he answers it anyway. He just sees the number and thinks, this might be a foreign leader I want to talk to.
It's got to be a dozen different countries listening to these calls. Absolutely, yes. I know what we used to do at the CIA.
Do you agree that it is at least concerning for some people, that it should be concerning for some people, as a former spy, that a former CIA agent turned whistleblower, then ends up working for the Russian government. My guest today has a life story straight out of a Hollywood movie. A former CIA agent who turned whistleblower on CIA torture and then experienced the wrath of one of the most feared intelligence agencies in the world. John Kiriakou went from the shadows of counterterrorism work in Pakistan and prison in the United States to the bright lights and filters of social media today, garnering millions of views from online followers who want to hear more of his stories and his takes. He is now host of the Deep Focus podcast on YouTube, author of several books, with one new one out this summer, and he joins me now here in the studio in Washington, D.C. John, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
A lot to talk about, but let's just go back to the beginning for those of our viewers who don't know about you and your story. A fascinating story. You were at the CIA, you joined and became a Middle East analyst, all the way up to being named Chief of Counter-Terror Operations in Pakistan at the height of the War on Terror. Why did you join the CIA, and why did you end up leaving?
Well, I come from an immigrant family. All four of my grandparents came from Greece, and they were so grateful for the opportunities that the country gave them that they instilled in us this notion that we needed to give something back to the country. So I only considered public service. I was thinking maybe the State Department, maybe something on Capitol Hill. I wanted to see the world and travel. And then my graduate school advisor turned out to be a CIA officer undercover.
And that happens a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
At universities across, not just elite universities, across the board.
Across the board. It's not as
Now everyone at home is wondering which university you should go to.
Oh, it was George Washington University.
Okay.
Since the passage, DC-based. Since passage of the Equal Employment Opportunity Act in 1993, that's illegal to do it clandestinely like that. Now they have professors who are the scholar in residence, and they just do it out in the open.
Do they have little stalls now at careers?
They do, actually.
Join the CIA?
They do.
Why did you leave the CIA in 2004?
Well, you know, I wish I could say that I left on principle. That was a part of it. The CIA had changed, but I was newly divorced. I had 2 little boys at home, and especially boys need their father, and I decided rather than to go back to Iraq or Afghanistan or Pakistan, I was going to stay with my son.
Total Battle. Play now for free.
When I got a pay cut, Dave helped me get cash, up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. I definitely use Dave to pay bills in advance. I can also eat pizza and go roller skating and enjoy life. Download Dave today.
And
so you leave the CIA in 2004, 22 years ago, and then you do an interview with ABC where you confirm, this is during the Bush administration still, right, that official US government policy permits interrogators to use enhanced techniques, which is a polite way of saying torture techniques, to get information out of prisoners at black sites, etc. What made you go public after all those years of having left the CIA and taking this big step? And explain to our viewers what happened to you after that.
Sure. I complained vociferously inside the CIA about the torture program. I'm sorry to say that of 14 people approached and asked if they wanted to be trained in the use of these torture techniques, I was the only one of the 14 who said no. And I thought this was so clearly illegal, immoral, unethical. Somebody was going to come out and say something, and nobody said anything. And then in December of 2007, Brian Ross approached me from ABC News and said that he had a source who said that I had tortured Abu Zubaydah, Zain al-Abidin Mohammed Hussein. I said, absolutely untrue. I was the only person who was ever kind to Abu Zubaydah. And he said, well, you're welcome to come on the show and defend yourself. I didn't know that was a reporter's trick because I'd never spoken with a reporter before. And so I
This is 2007.
2007. I said, I'll think about it. In the meantime, while I'm thinking about it, President Bush gives a press conference in which he looks directly in the camera and says, we do not torture. And I said to my wife, who was a senior CIA officer, I said, he is a bald-faced liar. He's looking the American people in the eye and just lying to them. And then a couple of days later, as he's walking to the Marine One helicopter, he shouts, in response to a reporter's question, that if there is torture, It's because of a rogue CIA officer.
Oh, wow.
And I said to my wife, Brian Ross's source is at the White House, and they're going to pin this on me. I'm going to go public. And I decided that I would just tell the truth and let the cards fall. Within 24 hours of that interview, the CIA filed what's called a crimes report against me, telling the FBI that they believed I had committed espionage by revealing a classified program. The FBI investigated me for a year, from December of 2007 to December of 2008, and determined I had not committed a crime. Just 4 weeks later, Barack Obama becomes president. He names my old nemesis, John Brennan, the Deputy National Security Advisor for Counterterrorism. Yep. And Brennan asks the Justice Department to secretly reopen the case against me. They did that. For the next 3 years, my phones were tapped, my emails were intercepted, teams of FBI agents followed me everywhere. And then finally in January of 2012, more than 4 years after I went public, they arrested me and charged me with 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage.
Liking this video? Then don't just watch, hit like, share and subscribe. And tap the bell so you never miss a video or live show. But if you want early access to exclusive content, then you have to head to Zeteo.com and subscribe now. You'll be supporting fearless, independent journalism. They accused you in 2012. It wasn't over the whistleblowing, it was allegedly disclosing classified information to journalists, including the name of a covert CIA officer. That's something you've never accepted. You deny that.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I'll explain. There were 2 names that they accused me of having turned over. One had never, ever been undercover, and in fact had a LinkedIn page where it said Central Intelligence Agency.
Kind of gives it away.
Yeah, and then the classified programs I was supposed to have outed were the torture programs.
How did it feel knowing that you went to prison, essentially, for whistleblowing on the CIA's torture policy? I mean, they didn't charge you with that, but that's what started the whole thing.
Right.
But the torturers themselves and their bosses who ordered them to torture, they never saw a day inside prison.
No, not a day. You know, I don't mean to smile because it's not funny, but this has been, of course, something that's been on my mind for a decade and a half now. And our system is corrupt, our government is corrupt, life just isn't fair. And so I was determined to make the best of it. And I feel like I have.
You are critical of torture. You say you were critical at the time.
Yes.
You refused to do it. Here's what's confusing. Since then, you have said multiple times that torture doesn't work. You said it to Joe Rogan just last year in your interview with him. He said it's not effective, which is the view of the Senate Torture Report and most experts. But in the ABC interview in 2007, you said it did work on Abu Zubaydah. Why did you say that then?
Yes, that's a great question. The reason I said it is because all of the reporting cables coming back from the secret site were lies.
I see.
What was happening was the CIA and the FBI were still so at odds that their computer systems were not compatible. So the FBI agent interrogating Abu Zubaydah, Ali Soufan, great hero of this entire episode, great hero. He did what the FBI is very good at, and he interrogated Abu Zubaydah by treating him with respect. Abu Zubaydah opened up, and Ali was reporting back to the FBI, this is what he said every day. And he was giving us actionable intelligence. Well, the CIA insisted on taking over for reasons that have never been made clear.
And tried to attribute Abu Zubaydah opening up to torture.
Exactly.
To cover their asses.
So what they did, because the computer systems were incompatible, they took Ali's reporting, retyped it in CIA channels and said, we waterboarded him once, here's what he said.
So you were wrong in 2007 when you said that. You were basically
incorrect,
incomplete, incorrect.
But we didn't know that was wrong until April of 2009.
But as of today, you stand by the consensus position that torture doesn't work.
It does not work. Besides being illegal.
Immoral, illegal, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
All right, let's broaden this conversation out. You today, it's 2026, you've gone from being a man who was in the shadows, a man who was taken on George W. Bush, going to prison for it. You've become an online personality, Johnny. In fact, I interviewed you a few years ago, and even then you weren't as big as you are now. Complex Magazine describes you as a TikTok sensation with a skill for narrative mastery. When was the moment you realized, oh, I'm a bit of an online celebrity?
Well, it was about 11 weeks ago.
Okay.
I happened to be in Dubai during a business trip, and my niece called me, and she said, Uncle John, you're exploding on TikTok. And I said, why? And she said, I don't know, but you're everywhere. I said, okay, I thought some one day thing, something happened, something in the algorithm. And I went to bed. The next day, CAA calls me, the Creative Artists Agency.
They want to rep you.
And they said, tell us you're not represented. I said, no, I'm not represented. You are now. Well, it turned out.
By the way, is it only me who finds it amusing that you went from the CIA to CAA? So it had to be said.
I've had to spell it out
very
carefully. So what it was I had given an interview to Stephen Bartlett of
Diary of the CEO.
Big show a month earlier. And as it turned out, a 20-year-old sophomore from the University of Texas saw that podcast, chopped it up into shorts, gave me an Alvin and the Chipmunks voice, put lasers shooting from my eyes, and made me famous.
There you go. I wonder if George W. Bush has seen the clip. Just on, there are a lot of people though who are craving information about what is going on right now in the world, in the Middle East, in government, from Iran to Epstein to Gaza. What do you think the average John Kiriakou subscriber who listens to your podcast, who finds you online, what are they looking for? Do you think?
The truth. My management.
Everyone's looking for the truth. What are they looking from you?
They are confused. I get this a lot.
Yeah.
They're confused by the competing. I'll call.
Thank you. Where do we go to bed? You ready to go to bed? Thank you.
Right-wing and left-wing media narratives, the two parties of the duopoly, and their narratives, and they're looking for somebody just to speak in plain English and tell them the truth. Funny thing, when I got out of prison, I had this website, and my webmaster asked me if I could guess at my demographic. I said, oh, yes. I said, women 40 to 60. She says, not even close. She said, it's men, and it's equally divided between ages 15 and 80. 80-20 men. Well, since this exploded, it's still 80-20 men, but almost all of them are between the ages of 15 and 30. They're looking for somebody just to tell them the
truth. Can you tell them, John? When you talk about your experience in the CIA, I'm sure people want to hear stories.
They do.
What did you see? What did you hear?
A lot.
What do you